While Mr. Deva Samaru was speaking, we had a visitor coming into the hall. He was my past friend, Mr. Rajalingam. He's right there. In the early or late 70s, when he came in the mid 70s, I believe. One day he was coming out of the Nrt-Sl station. This is a time when the National Front and the extreme forces were in the full force. When you walk on the road, you have to be careful. You see, you try to avoid them, cross to the other side of the road and avoid. Mr. Rajalingam, after work about 10:30 in the night, he was walking down the Nrt-Sl station. He was beaten, he was severely injured, he was taken to the hospital by ambulance. We got a colleague of mine, Mr. Sridhar, I'm sure he's here. He's one of his relatives. He was at the cash point. This is in somewhere in the 84, 85, I believe. In Ilford, he was surrounded, beaten severely, and when he went home, he collapsed and died. There were several incidents. What worries us most is, I am an advocate to stay in quickly to finish because question and answer session is there. There are a number of issues, politically sensitive issues are there. For my concern is Joe Cox is a typical example, is a starting point. Once you exit, then there is going to be nationalism emerging in this country. That nationalism is going to be a dangerous trend, and London will be to a certain extent protected. I'm worried about the minorities living in scattered area, how they are going to be treated. There are issues, we don't speak about it widely, that will intensify. Whether the government will cope with those kind of situations, do we realize all those aspects? Now, Joe Cox is a real example, it's a starting point. I almost feel I am saddened by her death. And in fact, my children asked me whether I will be voting to come out of the European Union. I said, yes, jokingly. They said, why that? Normally you give another answer. I said, yes, because if I subscribe to it, I will have a quick exit to Sri Lanka. That is what I want. So this is what I said. They were laughing, but I will be openly saying, I will be voting for staying in. So let me go take the next step. The minister has to go at 7:20. Let me open the forum. Let me open the forum for questions. I will invite 5 questions initially, and let me give you a briefing. No long speeches, just a brief, and the question has to come. If it is going to be long speeches, I will basically interject and stop the questions being asked. So therefore, I will kindly request you to limit your questions to just a few seconds. Mrs. Selvaranga.
2 requests. One, please ask the Prime Minister and the President to heed what Professor Viyangoda told the BMICH session 4 or 5 days ago. Second, you attended the Corridors of Power exhibition last September. You were the only parliamentarian who attended that. That has to be taken to the Parliament before any decision on the Constitution is made. Because if the parliamentarians do not understand what is inside that, they are not going to do anything better. That is not going to be of any use. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Mrs. Anandi Surya Prakasam.
I would touch on this EU, your request that we should vote to be in the EU. I'll tell you something. The Tamil diaspora, as we call it, or Nrt-Sl, we all came here. Most of us came here in 1983 after the riots, where you people harassed us, killed us. Even a priest was killed in the temple, Moratua temple. We came here, the country gave us a safe haven, and it gave us protection, it gave us a decent life. We are all, 80% of the diaspora are multimillionaires, in case you didn't know. We are doing very, very well off, thanks to the Sinhalese harassing us. Now, at that how do you think that we should think of Sri Lanka? You say to my country, to my country, to my country. Did you make us feel that it is our country there? When we came here running? Did you? Did you make us feel that Sri Lanka is our country? We came running. Half the families were dead. People were tortured. People were set on fire. Houses were set on fire. So how do you
So you want to stay in? You want to?
No.
Okay.
No, don't tell us.
No, I'm
Don't
telling.
come to us with this request. We
Sorry.
are intelligent enough. No,
I'm sorry.
they're the ones.
We said,
We are-
I'm sorry. We said it has to be a short,
All right,
brief,
all
and a
right.
question.
Okay.
What is the question?
The question is, why do you expect that we should think of your interests first?
Thank you. Third,
There is a question there.
this
Gentleman.
doctor.
Thank you, Dr. Haricha. We are from the same.
You
alma
introduce your
mater.
name to them.
I'm Raju Githaran. Long time ago, I was there. My brother, younger brother, was Ranil's classmate, and my nephew was your classmate as well, Dr. Varagudam in Canada. Anyway, coming to the question, now I had a Sri Lankan passport till 1983. I came here in the early 70s and I held on to the passport. But unfortunately, my mother died during the 1983 riots after, but I was unable to go. And that is why I took the British citizenship. Now, what is our position? Now, you mentioned as a refugee. I didn't come here as a refugee. I came here with a work permit to work in this country. And so what is our position? Because when I retired in 2008, I wanted to go and settle down in Sri Lanka and want to get my pension there and live happy because I have a house in Colombo.
Can you come to the question?
So the question is, how you only mentioned about refugees and other people who have lost the passport. Now I had to give up my passport, Sri Lankan passport, to get a British passport because of uncertainty at home. Now you should consider us as well into that category. Thank you.
Fourth, Mr. Marsuk.
I pose these questions to Honorable Deputy Minister. You refer to various legislation that are being put into place. I wish to refer to the legislation that were talked about regarding the curbing of hate campaign, which was a serious issue in the last government. So is there any initiative being taken on that? So with regard to the in-exit issue, I started with being exit because in my daily engagement, I come across a lot of Sri Lankans who need to be in this country for purpose of education, existence, for economic reasons and so on. Because the influx of the East European in this country has affected us, Sri Lankans and other commercial citizens. But subsequently, I used to have discussions with Mr. Jayadevan and my good friend Victor Cherubi on these and swilling on these issues. Now I am on the balance, I have still not decided, so I have yet to decide.
Thank you. Last question, Mr. Chairman, for the five.
I want to thank Madam Rosie Senanayaka for bringing out the gender issue, because very rarely do we have any Sri Lankan wanting or willing to speak about gender. I agree with Madam Senanayaka that our women have been exported and as human beings, and I want to say that we cannot tolerate this anymore. And I'm so happy.
What is the question?
The question is basically, what are we going to do to help women to work in Sri Lanka rather than go abroad, leaving their children and family and to the mercy of everyone?
Shall I give the preference to Mrs. Rosie Senanayaka? Yeah? No, 5 questions. 5 questions. One of them you want to answer? Whatever.
I can answer
Yeah.
2 questions.
One more year.
Just, I'll come back to you. Let us finish the 5.
Okay. I would like to answer your question. I am not very proud of what happened in 1983. country. I was very young when whatever that happened in 1983. And I'm so sorry that whatever happened did happen. But I'm also very glad that you are here now and that you're doing extremely well. But my appeal to you is, I believe that you still have your brothers and sisters and your people. You and I are one. We are from one country, Sri Lanka. I'm sorry the circumstances that brought you in here, I'm sorry about that. But all I'm asking is, see, the people in the north and the east, or maybe in the south, may not have a direct connection to me, but they are my people, they are our people. They are our brothers and sisters. We are not born Sri Lankan by accident. There's a plan and a purpose to why we are Sri Lankan. And all what life is all about is reaching out and helping others. And that's the meaning of life to me. And for me, I'm here appealing to you because of the long suffering that the women in the north and the east and also in the south has gone through. And we don't need to suffer anymore. You know, the GSP Plus alone is going to bring in so much interest with regards to trade and exports. And that is going to give the women the edge with regards to their livelihood problems. So that is to answer your question. And yeah, yes, thank you very much for commenting about the gender issue. And if you're talking about, you know, to me, sustainable development is enabling people to live comfortably. That's what sustainable development is all about. I mean, one would say sustainable development is renewable energy. They would, say all kinds of things about sustainable development. But if you're talking about sustainable development, there should be sustainable people's lives being taken care of and looking after the people and the betterment of the people. You know, we do all this to enable the family institution to flourish. For children to go to school, for children to have 3 square meals, for children to, thrive in a borderless global village, for children to have equal opportunities in the world. So I believe that with the GSP Plus coming back to us and us doing more trade with the EU, which is the strongest economy in the world, we will enable our women, our families, our family institution, our children, the next generation to flourish and thrive. So I believe that by having more direct foreign investment coming into the country, we will give our women more opportunities to stay in the country and to look after themselves.
Yeah, thank you. I'll answer the other quick questions quickly. On Mrs. Selvaranan's question about Jadeva Vangoda's position and also Diane Jadilkar's position previously mentioned at that meeting. I don't want to go into that because that was, to say the least, quite not what we had sort of expected. Given the sort of the difficult balance that we have to maintain, and Mr. Jatilaka is part of the Rajapaksa campaign, propaganda campaign post-election. So that was really a spoke in the wheel. But to give you a sort of a broader context, I didn't understand exactly what Mr. Sivalingam said, but I got the sense he spoke about the reparations and the mechanism. So, broadly, is based on 4 pillars. One is, sort of the Truth Commission, about a compassionate council. I heard what you said, and I also heard how Rosie responded. I think these need to be spoken about. That airing of your frustration is real, and Rosie's response, I am so glad, I'm proud this afternoon to be with her, to the way she answered that question. You see, that is the difference. That is the difference. So you saw two sides of this coin. She never did anything, I never did anything, most of you never did anything. But circumstances were such that these things happened on both sides. We have to understand and appreciate those facts, right? So the Truth Commission is all about the venting of this and trying to be compassionate about it. Sure, I heard also Mr. Sivalingam mentioning the word Nelson Mandela. Desmond Tutu was able to do that, Archbishop, given the Catholic context in South Africa. We can't do it in Sri Lanka because it is not in that context where one could go and confess and be pardoned. But in our own Hindu, Islam and Buddhist culture, we have to be able to, madam, find a way to deal with our past and telling the truth and being able to live with that truth, I think is a beginning. So the Compassionate Council and all of that will hopefully let us do that and come to some level of understanding about each other. The second point is, of course, accountability mechanism. How are we going to structure it? What are the contours? And it is open for you, Mrs. Surya Prakasam, to participate in that mechanism if you have not done already, and say, look, this is what I would like to see. And that is open for the first time for everyone living both inside and outside of Sri Lanka. Third column is the reparations that I'm sure that he spoke about and I touched upon. And the fourth one is the most important one, where that 18-year-old young lady very eloquently spoke about her generation and the generation after that. And that is what is most important about the new constitution. How do we create a Sri Lanka that you and your children and their children can say it is our country? We belong to that country, that island. The GPS position hasn't changed ever since it was created. So the last point and the most important point is that, so whatever it is that we are trying to do, Mr. Ranam, is that on those 4 pillars we will create a new country, a new society, a new Sri Lanka. So that is why we are here, and we seek your support, genuine support from your heart for that purpose. Yeah, so quickly on this, the unable to work, you came here because of the work permit, Dr. Raj Mitran, is that is not an issue. I don't understand why that you are unable to get your paperwork. That should not have been an issue. I mentioned the issue about asylum is because Mr. Gotabaya Rajapaksa in 2011 superseded the law. He can't, but he did. That is how he sort of ran the country, and said, look, your applications will not be entitled, are not welcome, right? And so it was not possible for you, if you gone that route, to get it. So that's the only reason why I said it. Please write to me personally or through the acting High Commissioner here. We will personally sort out if you have any issues. And the last one is, hate campaign laws have already been begun to be sort of drafted, and we are completely against it. And that is also even actually more so with the Muslim community. We saw it. Right, not the Tamil or the Single community. It's rising again, so we have to deal with it. So hate laws I'm not exactly certain on the date, etc., but we are working on it. So thank you very much.
Yes. Because of the time limitation, there is going to be 2 questions entertained. Only 2, because they had to go. Is it okay? Right. Number 1. Name is? And lady. Number 2. These 2 questions, please. Mr. Dr. Selvaratnam, am I right?
Just a quick question.
Dr. Selvaratnam. Yeah.
The question of IMF recently gave to Honorable Minister.
Can't hear you. Do you like to come forward?
No, the IMF have agreed for a loan. They produced a press release on Saturday only. And there were 6 pillars of the things they are required. My question is, that's the question of breakdown of, there's no rule-based society. A lot of things are vaguely done. Second question, second part of it is, there's no merit system of promotions and all. Is there any start-up from that, is the government is addressing that to give people opportunity? It doesn't matter what it is.
Okay, number 2. Yeah. You got to introduce your name and you could stand up and...
Sure, Shamala. Yeah, I just wondered what kind of things are the government doing to make it easier for women to come forward and report harassment, rape, and to report child abuse? What kind of things are being done? And also I wondered what kind of things are barriers for women to enter the political system?
Yes, talking about the political system to eradicate the barriers is what the Prime Minister, as soon as he came into power, he brought in a new piece of legislation where he brought in an amendment to the local council where 30% of women could enter. It's a reservation of seats because the local council elections will be held partially the first past the post system. 70% is the first past the post system and 30% would be through a PR list. So he made it 25 the PR list and 75 the first past the post system. And the entire PR list will be women, only women's names will be filed in. So that way we will have 25% of women in every council. And this will eventually be with the provincial councils as well. And then the National Assembly. Talking about women and security with regards to women, there are new policies, especially women and children. There is the Judicial Child Rights Bill that is about to be brought into Parliament. It is ready, it's with the Attorney's Department. Then there is going to be a national policy formulated. The President himself took upon the child abuse factor and he, under his purview, he set up a task force with all the line ministries, line agencies, the police and the relevant authorities, a task force to look into the issues in where the pitfalls, the loopholes, the drawbacks, and to try and put a national policy with regards to child protection. And also for women and children to have a special police division headed by a DIG, not the kind of police desks that are in the police stations. So it will be a special unit. And also there will be a rape investigation unit to fasten up the cases, because some of these cases, when somebody reports a case, by the time the case is heard and the actual verdict is given, it takes about 10 years to 8 years. If a child is raped at the age of 6, I have had, when I was a Minister of Child Affairs, where women have come up to me and said, "Madam, can you just make sure that this case is taken off because I'm married now, my husband doesn't know that I went through this during my childhood." So to speed up the system, and also we have requested for practically in every court to separate one day of the week to especially hear women and children's cases, to speed up cases. So we're trying to create the mechanism to speed up. We're trying to bring in new laws to protect women, and we are looking at practically every avenue, and that's what this government has been doing since the day it has come into power. Thank you.
Just a minute, just sit down, I'll call you. Sit down there, I'll call you once we finish here.
The doctor's question on the IMF. The you talked about a rules-based and merit-based systems that we need to sort of implement across Sri Lanka's administrative management system. Well, on the case of sort of the merit-based, it has had its ups and downs, and I don't want to say anything here and give false hope that suddenly things are going to change. But competitive exams for recruitment and things of that nature and for promotions is the rule, not the exception now. So that's sort of some progress. In terms of rules, if we don't follow the economic rules and monetary policy rules, we'll be in trouble. So whether IMF tells us or not, we'll have to be able to go by the rules, because these are economics rules, not anybody else's rules. But a rules-based, merit-based system is what we are attempting to create, so I'll keep it at that.
IMF is an essential evil. IMF is an essential evil for developing countries.
Just a minute. Ladies and gentlemen, in fact, we wanted to start the meeting at 5:30 Greenwich Mean Time, but most of you all came according to Sri Lankan time 1 hour late. As a result, you lost the opportunity to ask more questions from the guest here. It's the saddest thing. I'm sorry I'm unable to entertain any more questions. We are going to have dinner. Before we have the dinner, Mr. Ramraj will deliver the vote of thanks, and just a minute. You can give it when the meeting is wound up. Just hold on. So Mr. Ramraj will give the vote of thanks, and we will interact. We have enough time. We can discuss about the issues. I'm very glad these two important personalities from the government has come, particularly Mrs. Rosie Sennaika coming and apologizing for what has happened in 83. And not only 83, there were so many issues in the 77, 58, all around, you see. Now we have come to the juncture, we have to look forward in a very dynamic way to basically resolve the issues and basically be part of Sri Lanka. For me, it is more important than basically going on at a tangent and fighting. Of course, there is an opportunity for the government, and government has to address the issues. They are showing signs of dealing with the issues. If they don't come out with something, then it is back again to square one. We are going to have internecine quarrel all the time. So I'm sure this will be coming to an end, and we'll find a way forward. Let me ask Mr. Ramraj to give the vote of thanks.